This is Flipping Junkie Podcast, Episode 8. Welcome to the Flipping Junkie Podcast. My name is Danny Johnson, former software developer turned house flipper, flipping hundreds of houses. Each week, we bring you interviews, strategies, stories, and motivation to help you get started flipping houses and on your way to becoming your own boss and achieving financial freedom. Thanks for spending time with me today. Now let's get to it. Today's guest started flipping houses at the super early age of 19. His name is Kevin Ramirez. And even though he was brand new to the business of flipping houses and he didn't have any experience, he was still able to find someone that was willing to lend money for his first flips. And when getting started, almost all of us have that hurdle to overcome, and that's coming up with the money for buying these houses to buy them and fix them up. And what he shares in this episode is a great way to get started flipping real estate when you don't have much money to buy houses yourself and don't have any experience. So not only did he find the money to do his first deal, that first deal actually netted him about $65,000. And I'm super excited for you to hear about where he found his money partners and how he got them on board with him. Kevin's story is very interesting and very motivating, and I'm sure you're going to get a lot out of this interview. So enjoy the show. All right, today I've got Kevin Ramirez on the show. Kevin's from Venezuela. He's living and doing business in Raleigh, North Carolina. Or is that pronounced Raleigh?
Raleigh, North Carolina.
All right, Raleigh. And he started in real estate at 19 years old with a flip, found a JV partner to fund the whole deal. And after that, he fell in love with the business. And he's currently focusing on rehabbing and wholesaling. Every deal that he's done has been without any of his own money. He's currently 21 years old and still a one-man operation. He's working on building systems to automate his flipping business. And with 19 deals to date in 2015, he's looking to close the year with 25. He doesn't yet consider himself an expert, but that keeps him staying open to learning more and more every day, which all of us should be doing. So thanks for being on the show, Kevin.
Hey, Danny, thank you for having me on your podcast.
All right, so we'll just get right into it. I want to find out more about what got you interested in real estate investing and flipping and how you got your start.
Yeah, absolutely. So I graduated high school, and I decided to take a year off just kind of after high school, just learn a little bit more about myself. And while I was doing that, I started reading more about real estate. I had a family member actually that was doing multifamily deals, and she just kind of approached me and she told me what she was doing. I found interest in it, and for my 18th birthday present was actually one of those courses, real estate investing courses, and I dabbled a little bit in it, and I said, hey, I can do this. So after taking a year off, I started college. In my first semester, I got my first 4 deals done, and I just said, hey, this is something that I can do. I can scale it, and I can be good at it. So I dropped out of high school. I dropped out of college, and I started doing it 100%.
Cool. Yeah, that's awesome that you had that faith and determination, at such a young age to even take that risk and go with it, because a lot of people at that age are struggling to figure out what they want to do and how they're going to do it. So it's really awesome that you started so young in the business. Did you find yourself running into any difficulties being so young, getting started?
It went either way, actually. It went both ways. Just kind of, some people at the beginning where I was, and my confidence wasn't as high as it is now when talking to sellers and things like that. They kind of saw me as a younger kid coming in there. But some other people actually saw that, actually thought it was was a good thing. It was, hey, this kid's getting started. I see that he's being active. He's doing things. He's approaching me with such energy. Then they wanted to work with me more because I was young and doing things that other people who are older are trying to do or looking to do, and they don't pull the trigger on.
Yeah, that's great. So, I started a little bit younger too. I think I was 24, 25 or something like that. And I remember even some of the first sellers that I talked to, they were asking me, so is your dad the one that buys the houses? And yes, I know it's me. He does buy houses, but I buy houses as well. But anyway, so I was just wondering, I don't know if maybe you looked as young as I did whenever I was that young, but I look like I
think I did.
barely just got a license, right?
I think I did. And I actually got that question too a couple of times. Actually, I still get it.
Yeah, it's awesome. It feels good though to be able to say, "Nope, I'm the one buying the houses."
Yeah, for sure it is.
Yeah, so I wanted to delve into something a lot of people getting in the business struggle with, and that's like figuring out how they're going to get money to be able to buy a house, fix it up, and deal with holding costs and all that kind of stuff. Most people just don't have hundreds of thousands of dollars lying around. I didn't, and from your story, I know that you didn't either. So I wanted to find out how you figured out what to do to get money, and then how you did end up getting money to do your first deal and then the deals after that, if you don't mind going into a lot of detail, and we can ask some questions in between where necessary, just to try to figure out how you did that, because a lot of people struggle so much with that, and that keeps them out of getting started.
Yeah, absolutely. So every deal that I've ever done, I've done with none of my own money. So it's really, other than marketing, that's all the money I've spent on doing my rehab. So I started out, my first deal was a rehab, and just kind of done JV partners. With a JV partner, what I do is I offer them, I come to them with a good deal that they want to go into, and they just pretty much fund the whole deal, and at the end we split the profits or losses 50-50, or depending on the if I've done business with them before. If I haven't done business with them before, then I offer them a little bit more, maybe 65% of the profit. At the end of the day, what counts is, getting the deal done and being able to close on that property for that motivated seller.
All right, so let's dive into this. And so you have the numbers. I'm sure everybody typically remembers most of the numbers for their first deals. Do you remember what the numbers were like for that first deal that you had?
Yeah, I do. It was a really good deal, actually. It was, I got the lead from pretty much my first week of doing online marketing on the Google AdWords. It was my first week doing it. It was actually one of my first leads that I got on it, and I came to them. The property was worth, or I thought it was worth at the time, $275,000. They were asking $225 at first, but the property really needed a lot of work. It was in a really, really good neighborhood. Properties were selling in less than 14 days once on the market if priced right. And just kind of, I negotiated with them a little bit, got the property down to 160 and got it on the contract. Now, after that, we came, when we were getting closer to the closing date. It's not something that I like to do, renegotiating, so close to the closing date. But, this property really needed it. So I ended up getting the property at $143,000, and we ended up putting in about $75,000 worth of repairs, and it sold for $295 on the first day on the market.
Oh, wow. So you said $295 is what it sold for?
Yes, it sold for $295.
All right. So what kind of profit was that? So that was roughly, what's the total profit then?
So the total profit, we ended up splitting $65,000 for the profit. Ended up splitting it between me and the JV partner. We did overspend a little bit on the rehabbing. It could have easily been $100,000 deal. But we ended up, overspending. It was his first flip as well, as well as mine, and we just kind of, got a trigger friendly with the repairs, but it ended up being really good. Everything worked out fine. We were really pleased with the profits. Like I said, we ended up splitting $65,000, almost $70,000 with the profits, and it sold. Like I said, it sold on the first day on the market. It took us 4 months for the rehab, so it was a very good flip in my opinion for the first one.
Oh yeah, no, that's awesome. 65,000 to split, Yeah, especially on the first deal when a lot of people actually lose money, on the first deal.
Yeah,
So that's incredible. I bet that got you fired up to do a lot more at that point.
Oh yeah, absolutely. After that, it was just game on.
All right, so let's. So you had a partner on that one. You got a JV partner that it was also their first deal. So how did that go down? How did you find this partner, and how did you pitch the deal to them? And did you already have it under contract?
Yeah, absolutely. So I got the property under contract, and then I was like, what do I do now? My initial thought was to wholesale the property. And I had a very, very small buyer's list at the time. And out of coincidence, that same week that I got the property on the contract, this JV partner happened to contact me through I think it was Craigslist, where he saw
cool.
my ad on Craigslist. He just said, "Hey Kevin, I'm getting started in real estate. I just did a course just like you, and I wanna get started. I want to do my first flip." And I said, "Hey, I happen to have this deal going on. Would you like to take a look at it?" So we met at the property. I sent them all the numbers. The numbers looked great from the beginning. So I sent them the numbers, and everything worked out great. We ended up splitting the profits. Like I said, the profits 50-50, and we would have split the losses if we would have lost, money 50-50 as well. That was kind of my, my gambling there, my risk that I was taking there. But we worked on the property, doing all the, managing the repairs and things like that, and it worked out good. That's how I got that.
Great.
JV partner.
Did you worry about any issues with partnering with somebody that you didn't know very well? Was it sort of like, were they, because obviously they wanted to be in the business, right? So were they wanting to be a lot more hands-on than maybe you wanted, or how did that work out?
Yeah, I had that question at the beginning. I was kind of like, how do I feel about, going into my first flip with someone else? But I just, from the moment I met them, I knew they really wanted to make this work. They weren't going to be a problem, or so I thought, and the relationship was just great. The more I met them, the more I got to know them, the better it was. And we got along very well. And when it came to actually doing the flip, we both had kind of an equal amount of responsibility, and we both were really on top of that. We were both getting what we had to get done. We were getting it done, So that's why it worked out pretty well, and we didn't have a problem. It actually, like I said, it ended up working perfectly fine, and I've used them. I've done deals with them since then.
Great. So how did you guys handle the securing of the loan from him for the money for the house, being that you put it under contract first and then brought him on afterwards? How did you handle that part of it?
Yeah, so I had the property on the contract first, and after I got in contact with them and they decided to go through with the deal, we did a JV contract between me and the JV partner. So that's where my interest, my security in the contract was with the JV contract that I had with the partner. So then after, when the closing came, they actually closed on the property, not me. So I was never actually on the deed. They were the ones kind of closing on the deed, and what I had, it was kind of their word and this JV contract that I had between them that said that this property is going to be, the profits from this property were going to be split 50-50 between me and him.
Right, and so I guess that made it a lot easier for them to agree to put up the money for the house, being that they were actually going to be owning the house and throughout the whole process, right? Yeah,
absolutely. So I think that made them feel a little bit better. At the end of the day, they were the ones controlling the house. They were the ones who closed on it. They actually had a home equity line of credit. That's what they used to fund the whole deal, fund the acquisition and also the repairs and any closing costs that we had. I like I said, I didn't even put money in for the closing costs or anything, or due diligence. I had the property, when I had it on the contract, I offered the sellers $1,200 of due diligence. And I came in contact with these people like 3, maybe 2.5 days after I had it on the contract. So that same day, I was going to give the sellers about $100 of due diligence. When they came to the property with me on that third day, they actually wrote the check for the due diligence because that's how much they wanted the property. So I didn't even have to put down the due diligence. So it was virtually zero money down for the whole deal. Even the marketing. I mean, it was my first week of Google AdWords, so maybe the lead was 11 cents at all. I think that's what it was.
Right. No, that's awesome. All right. So what? So after you guys, did you end up getting some other deals under contract while you were doing that, or did you focus solely on just getting that one done and sold and then moving on?
This one, towards the end, we were actually getting closer to finishing the rehabbing. We were maybe a month away from listing the property. And I was still doing, my Craigslist advertisement, and I was doing a little bit of direct mailing, and I got a couple leads, maybe like 10 leads or so, and one of those I got under contract, and I actually ended up wholesaling that property to another investor on my cash buyers list.
All right,
While
great.
I was doing that. So I closed on the wholesale, and then like a week after that, we put the property on the market, and then it ended up coming under contract that same day.
Wow, that's awesome. And how long would you say that it was that you said you got that lead real quick, right, for the first one? I mean, most people takes them several months, 2 to 6 months maybe to get a first deal. So you got yours pretty quick then, huh?
No. No, this took me some time. It was my first at Google AdWords lead, but it was, I had been doing direct mailing for maybe 6 months or so. I had to do Craigslist ads for, like I said, maybe 6 months before that, or even longer. So it took me, maybe, like I said, my first semester of college to get started, and then, so yeah, maybe like 6 months or so to get that first deal on the contract. Yeah.
And then you said the second one was like 4 months after the first one, right? Because you said you were rehabbing for about 4 months.
Yeah, the second lead was like, maybe 2 months after I started doing the rehab on this one, and that's when it came in. That one, like I said, that was from the direct mailing and such.
Okay. And then you said you found the JV partner from a Craigslist ad that you had put out. Was that a sample Craigslist ad from somebody's course that's maybe copyrighted or something, or is that something that you came up with that you could maybe share with the audience?
Yeah, it was just, I was looking for sellers. It was just like, hey, we buy houses. At that time, that's what it said. That's not what my ad said anymore.
Oh, okay.
The ad was just like, we buy houses, local real estate investor. I was already calling myself a real estate investor back then.
Hey,
local real estate investor. Yeah, you gotta fake it to make it, right? Local real estate investor, looking for properties that, need repairs. Call me at 919, whatever my number was, and then and that's they saw that ad and then they contacted me.
Yeah, so the JV partner called you on your ad to buy houses. Wow,
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
They saw the we buy houses, and I guess they were doing that to some of the ads that they were seeing. But I was very constant on posting ads on Craigslist, so I was always trying to stay on top, and I was always posting ads. So I guess they saw mine and they contacted me, and I know I was like the first person they talked to that was in the business, other than with the people that they talked to with the courses and stuff like that. But I was the first person that they actually talked to that was actively trying to get a deal going, even though it was my first one. And yeah, we got along pretty well and we got the deal going.
Yeah, I'm sure they're glad. Just from that deal, they had 30,000+ reasons to be grateful for calling you on that ad, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah, they were very pleased. And like I said, we've done deals since then. I've wholesaled them some properties as well. So it's created a very good relationship. The reason why I ended up not wholesaling the property to them was because I actually wanted to be part of that first flip. I wanted to get that under my belt. I wanted to get that, that experience of working with, subcontractors in the GC and working with, getting the, finding the materials and making sure finding, just seeing the process and everything come together. It was very exciting to me. I mean, it was just like what I saw on TV, what I was seeing on YouTube, what I was, the people that I was looking up to, that's what they were doing. So
yeah,
it was very exciting.
It's the fun part, taking something from a dump into like a beautiful house is just, there's something really gratifying and rewarding for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
The JV contract agreement that you had with your JV partner on that first deal, was that also something that did you have somebody draw that up for you, or was that a part of a course that you had or something?
They brought it in, actually.
Oh, okay.
They wanted to make sure everything was legal, everything was, it was going to work out fine. Like I said, it was their first deal, and it was their money on the line. So, I had never done a JV deal before. I had never done anything like that. Like I said, I just wanted to wholesale it, but then I said, okay, I know some people are doing this JV thing when they're, equity partners. So let's try it out. I talked to them about it, and they said, hey, Kevin, we'll bring in the contract. So they went to their attorney. He drafted the contract up. They brought it to me. I looked over it. I actually had, my aunt who, was in real estate investing, who does multifamily deals, to look over it to see if everything was good. And everything was good, and everything, it was how it was supposed to be. So that's what we used. They brought it in, though.
Do you remember some of the key points from that contract for the people listening? So as far as like what maybe people are looking for to protect their interest, and for you to be able to make sure that you have your interest protected. Do you remember any of the key points from that JV contract?
Let's see. That's a hard question. So there's a lot of them. It was a pretty extensive contract. I don't use that contract anymore, but it was pretty long. I thought, at the time, it just said, that we were only in this venture for that particular property,
right.
And nothing else. That we were going to, at the end, we were going to be splitting the profit 50-50, or the losses as well. That clause, that's what I never heard of that, because every time, I had heard of a JV deal, I'd always heard of people doing, no money down and in no risk. Like they're, someone else is putting all the money, and then at the end, they're splitting 50-50 for the profits, but nobody ever tells you that you're also splitting, or you should be splitting the losses if you really want to get that person to work with you. Some people ask for it, some people don't ask for it. That really is what it is. But this particular contract had that clause in where if we were to get any losses, we would also split those 50-50.
Yeah.
That was definitely the main one. And we also had a clause that said that if we went over a certain amount for the repairs, like we had an estimate of $70,000 of repairs. If we went over that, we would 20% would go to me. That I would have to pay 20% interest on that. That's the only part we changed on that contract. We didn't do that because of how likely it was for us to go over the repair estimate, since we were both doing this, for the first time. So we were just kind of, let's just not do this one. But everything else stayed the way it was, and those were pretty much the key points on that contract.
All right, great. I appreciate you sharing that. Yeah, sometimes it's kind of hard to remember all the specifics of it, so I'm glad you were able to come up with the main points, because that's something that people worry about. It's like, what should this thing say? And obviously, we're not attorneys, so if you structure a JV contract, don't do it just based on what you heard here, but speak to a competent local attorney to have that done. But just so you know some of the key points, and that's really pretty cool how you guys thought about the, what happens if there's a loss. Because if you don't specify or talk about that in the contract, and then you do have a loss, you could end up in a situation where, somebody's not happy, and then lawsuits and everything else. So that's good to try to cover all potential outcomes and be upfront about all of it, so that you guys don't have any disputes later on. But so
absolutely.
And so let's talk about going into the second deal. You said you did a wholesale. What was the next one that you ended up rehabbing? How did you use the same JV partner, or did you end up with another one?
For the second rehab, I ended up using him again.
It's easy.
It was a similar same contract actually for him. Similar situation. This particular this is a cool part actually. This particular lead came from the sign that we put in front of the property. It was one of my signs that I had put in front of the property when I had the property on the contract before we closed, and they had called me and they said, "Hey Kevin, we're interested in selling our house. We see that you have a house that you're buying here in the neighborhood. Come over and take a look at ours." So I did, and then we ended up getting it under contract. We ended up making on that one $50,000 on that one, splitting 50-50 as well, and with the same partner. So that
nice.
was a whole time was just very exciting for me. Getting my first 3 deals done that first semester in college, and just kind of so excited that they all fell through so easily once my marketing was up, and like what's the chance of someone in the same neighborhood getting to see that sign and calling me and need to get that property under contract. That's what I thought. But obviously now that's what I do every time I have a rehab. If the neighborhood lets me, because that's another problem. If the neighborhood does let you have a sign out or a banner, I always try to have it so that the neighbors can see it and then know that I'm doing it. I also do a lot of door knocking as soon as I get a property that I'm starting to rehab around the property, just to let the neighbors know what I'm doing, what I'm looking to do with this property that's going to make their neighborhood better, and also to see if I can get a referral or a lead.
Wow, that's great. Most people don't take the time to do that. I need to start putting the signs back out at rehabs we're doing. Man, that's awesome that you got a deal from that, man. What did your sign say on it?
It was a handwritten sign that I had. I didn't have a banner at the time. I didn't have a sign or anything. It was a handwritten sign that said "We buy houses," and I just put it in there with my number. So it was kind of like a bandit sign, but it was supposed to be like, I was going to replace it, which I did end up replacing it with a, like a company sign. And
Probably didn't work as well,
company.
though.
Yeah, it was just said the company name and the number, but it was just a We Buy House sign that I put in front of the property.
Yeah. So do you think that the handwritten one maybe worked better than the professional company one?
I couldn't tell you. Like I said, it was my first time ever doing something like that. It just happened to work. I can't say. I'd say about 1% of the properties that I do. I would say only 1% of those properties I would get from a lead like that.
Yeah.
So it's very. I've only got 2 off of doing that so far, but I can't tell you if it worked because it was handwritten. I can tell you though that from the bandit signs that I have done around town, I don't really like doing bandit signs anymore. I did it for a little bit when I was just getting started. I did find out that handwritten ones worked a little bit better for me.
Yeah, they grab the attention a little bit better. Well, and you got to be careful. So are bandit signs probably, like in most places, they're illegal in your area?
Oh yeah, they don't like them. There's some areas where they don't really push on it too hard. In the Raleigh area, centric Raleigh, they don't really push on it as hard as they do in other cities like Durham. They don't like them. They'll call you and they'll take them down in that same day.
Yeah. So it makes it difficult. I wanted to ask also about, you said that you had, you used that JV partner for 2 deals, and you said that you had done some with some other JV partners. How did you find the other JV partners that you ended up using for some of the deals?
Same way. It was just kind of, they saw my my ads on Craigslist. Maybe they saw my Google AdWords and they contacted me. Most of the JV partners that I've had have been first-time flippers as well. So it's just people that are looking to get started. They just saw, that I had an ad up and things like that. Like I said, I'm getting calls from other people, but some of the other people in the area may be a little bit bigger than I am or that I was at the time. So maybe they didn't want to do JV deals. They wanted only to do wholesaling, or they only wanted to do to where they would lend them money and they would do the flip. I was open to doing JV deal with the leads that I found, and I was just able to find that win-win situations for me and the partner as well. So that's I've done it that way with them, and that's kind of how most of the partners I've had have come to me, and I've met some people also that I've worked with on blogs, and forums and things like that.
Wow, cool. So whenever they call you, I'm assuming because they were calling on your marketing for buying houses, that they were just calling and introducing themselves as another investor and asking for any kind of deals. Did you then go into, how did you approach them about becoming a JV? I'm assuming they didn't ask you about becoming a JV, or maybe that you approached them about it. How did you do that?
Yeah, so when they call me, they introduce themselves as other investors. Hey, Kevin, we want to get started in real estate, or we're home flippers. We're wondering if you have any deals to wholesale. So usually it starts like that. Some people have actually come to me and said, hey, if you have any deals you'd like to go in half and half or something like that, or you want to work together. That's how they phrase it. You want to working together. We were able to do it that way. Then when I send them the deal, I add them to my cash buyers list. When I send them the actual deal on the email, that's when I depending on who it is, like I have some people who I only send out an email to wholesale. And then that's after I send out the email to rehab, or if I'm working on maybe 2 or 3 rehabs at a time and I'm just kind of like, hey, maybe let's wholesale this one and let someone else have it. So I send it out to my wholesaling list, But yeah, usually I start out by asking, hey, I have this deal going on. These are the numbers. This is the projected profit. I send them some pictures. I send everything, usually the deals that I try to send out, I don't send out a lot of deals, but the deals that I do send out are pretty good deals. They're not home runs every time, but they're deals that the average investor would be like, okay, let's make it work because it sounds like a good deal, you know? So, off of that, I just say, hey, the deal is I'm looking to wholesale it for, this amount of money, or I'm looking for a partner who would want to go in with me, and for us to work together in rehabbing this deal, because like I said, I'd like to get some more experience rehabbing. Even now it takes me, some time to figure out the repairs needed and the scope of work and things like that. I'm getting better at it, but I'm still I still mess up a lot of the times.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said about that then, because you're basically, you're saying yourself, I'm not an expert at determining repair cost and all that kind of stuff, but you didn't let that stop you. You took action, you talked with other people, worked stuff out with other people, and helped each other figure it out and make a go of it. And
absolutely.
Yeah, that's an awesome story, and I really like the idea of not just calling people or talking to people about wholesale deals, but seeing that there's a potential in there to create JV partnerships instead and having them fund deals, so that you're not just looking at, well, I got to get started, I don't have money, so I need to wholesale everything. You didn't look at it that way. You said, I'm going to find someone to put up the money and do this work together and learn the ropes, and that's pretty awesome. That's a good way to start.
Absolutely.
And did you find that there was, like in these other ones with the other JV partners, did they expect you to do more of the legwork as far as handling with contractors, or how did that work out with you guys making decisions on what kind of remodeling to do, what kind of cabinets and, tile and all that kind of stuff? How did that all work out?
Yeah, well, you actually won't believe me. Most of the people, well, I guess it does make sense, but most of the people that I've worked with who have put in all the money for the property, where their money is on the line, they usually want to be more in charge of certain things when it comes to the property. So actually the legwork, they're doing most of the calling. They're doing most of the, if they have to pick up any materials up, they're doing most of that. My role really was, most of the deals I've done was finding the deal, negotiating the deal, getting it on the contract, making sure it's a solid, very good deal, and then from then, getting them and just kind of, getting us to the close and getting us to that profit check. But doing the rehab, they like to be very involved. It's not like I'm doing all the work. They like to be very involved as well. So we kind of, split it half and half, but sometimes they do like to be, more cautious. They want to, pick some things, and it's worked out. It's worked out great with all of the people who I've worked with. This particular couple, the first couple that I worked with, I've done, maybe 5 deals with them or 6 deals with them as rehabs. And they're a couple, and the girl has just really, really good taste when it comes to, rehabbing and things like that. So she's, she was on top of, making everything, choosing the colors, choosing everything. And now I just kind of use her color palette and her, flipping taste as a template for my flips that I do with anybody else, That's kind of how I got my, my basics from.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I don't know what I'd do without my wife, because I would probably end up choosing really hideous colors and things like that other people wouldn't appreciate or like.
Yep, that's how it is.
Yeah, and so how were you guys staging, or not staging, how were you guys selling these properties? Were you selling them yourselves, FSBO, hiring a realtor, and were you staging them or anything like that?
Yeah, so the first properties that we got, we started, we listed it on the market with a realtor. I actually happen to have my real estate license. I got it this year. Actually, I've had it for about a year now, and since then, I've been listing the properties myself. So all of my rehabs now, I list myself as a realtor.
All right, and so you actually go and do the showings and stuff like that when people call?
The buyer's agent will do the showing when it comes to that. I just list the home, I put it on the MLS. So the buyer's agent, I get in contact with the buyer's agent and I negotiate with them directly. But yes, most of my flips, I list them on the market now.
Great, and like the first one, they'll still sell them pretty quick?
For the what? Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, we're experiencing especially this year, we're experiencing a very, very good market here in the Raleigh and Cary area. So all of the properties, most of the properties I've had have sold in, less than 15 days. I think 15 days have been, the highest one. I think I'm lucky to have started in a very good, I started after the 2008 crash, and then, after that, I really started in 2012, or even after that. So it was picking up then, and now we're really, really good right now. I mean, houses are selling in days in the neighborhoods that I like to work in.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, it's been really nice lately with how quickly things are selling for, what they're selling for.
Oh yeah.
We've all made mistakes though in this business, and I'm sure you've probably made some. We all have. So what's the biggest mistake maybe that you think that you've made that others can avoid?
Man, I've made many. Where would I start? Definitely being careful with over rehabbing. Like I said, I've never lost money on any of the deals that I've done, but I could have capitalized a little bit more on the rehab side when it came to, getting bids from different subcontractors and things like that. Also, when it came to working with the subcontractors, being a little bit, more careful of who I was choosing, how long they were taking when it came to finishing the deal. Sometimes, they like to take a little bit longer than other people, or they, maybe they're about to be done, right? And then they just kind of, slack off for the last 10% of the rehab. And taking action, I sometimes I pulled the trigger, especially for the first 6 months that I was into it. Getting calls, answering calls, talking to, for sale by owners, just searching everything I could be doing and actually doing the things I should have been doing. That was definitely my biggest flaw back then, and it still is. Sometimes I procrastinate a little bit when it comes to talking to, actually searching sellers on, for sale by owner or Craigslist and things like that, and reaching out to them and calling them.
Yeah, it could be some work sometimes, but that's what pays the bills. That's what brings the deals.
Absolutely,
and,
yeah.
I'm not really trying to rhyme. I don't know how that happened, but what are your current goals in this business? You've got an awesome start, and do you have any goals that you want to share? I know that you had told me about the wanting to do, was it 25 this year? Any other goals?
Yeah, my goal at the beginning of this year, starting 2015, my goal was to finish the year with 25, transactions done, and I'm at 19 now, and that's kind of what I'm focusing on for the end of this year. And also another goal is obviously to increase that next year. I'd like to do at least 35 next year, to where I'm getting more used to it now. I'm getting some momentum, increasing my marketing. Another goal of mine is getting better at direct mailing. I'm actually not doing any direct mailing right now. All my leads are coming from online marketing and driving for dollars. So I'm going to start doing direct mailing starting probably this month, and getting different lists and things like that. So those are really my goals. Are definitely have to do with improving and ramping up my marketing, offline marketing at this moment.
Right. Yeah. So do more deals. Got to do more marketing and get more leads and everything. Do you have any good books that you've read recently that you would recommend to anybody?
Oh yeah, absolutely. You're looking for a real estate book or a business book?
Oh, either way.
Either way, I'm sure your audience has heard this one a lot. The One Thing by Gary Keller. I thought that book was, absolutely great. Really just getting on point with what you should be doing, what your tasks that you should be doing, the ones that are worth more, figuring those out and actually getting those, to the table and doing them. And also a book that's, it's an older book, but I just recently read it, is The E-Myth, by Michael Gerber. It just really changed my mindset on the business. Before that, I was just kind of, I'm still kind of a one-man team, but after reading that book, it's just kind of changed my mindset to making this more of a business, more of a franchise. That's where I'm going to, be able to kind of step out a little bit. As of now, I'm doing a lot of the things. I'm setting up most of the marketing campaigns. I'm working on my website. I'm doing this. I'm meeting sellers. I'm meeting buyers. I'm meeting with cash buyers. So my goal really is to just kind of give the legwork to someone else, let someone else handle my marketing, let someone else handle some of the things that I'm doing now that I could be, should be spending time doing something different. So those two books have definitely changed my mindset when it comes to business this year.
Yeah, it's awesome. I love both of those books, and I think you're spot on with the whole making sure that you're actually running a business instead of just building another job for yourself. So super
Absolutely.
smart. It's awesome to hear that you're focusing on that, especially so early
Absolutely.
too. Then the One Thing is an awesome book too, and I actually have a blog post about how the systems I use to do like what's talked about in the One Thing to make sure that I'm focused on the most important thing I should be doing next, using free software out there that's available for everybody. And that blog post I'll put in the show notes. That'll give you basically sort of like the blueprint of how I keep track of my One Thing. And so it's really cool. Check it out on the show notes page. The notes for this show, all the key points that we talked about, and then these books, and then that post. And I think that you said that you have something for the audience as well, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be an infographic that kind of talks about exactly what I do from the moment you get a lead, from the moment I get a lead to the moment I get the JV contract, to the moment I get that closing on that property and flip the project. So it's going to be, the whole step-by-step guide on getting the contract and getting the funding through a JV partner and making it a rehab happen.
Awesome. Yeah, so I'll have that there on the show notes page as well, so everybody can download that for free. And the show notes page is going to be for this episode at flippingjunkie.com/podcast/Kevin Ramirez, and that's KEVIN So flippingjunkie.com/podcast/Kevin Ramirez. No spaces, all lowercase. And you'll be able to find all that information there. And Kevin, I really appreciate you coming on the show and enjoyed hearing from you and got some awesome ideas from you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on the podcast for sure, man. Your blog has been, you were pretty much the first blog I ever followed and really started reading. So I'm excited for sure.
Cool, man. I appreciate that. And is there any way that people out there can find you? Any website you want to share or anything like that?
Yeah, absolutely. They can find me on Google+. My tag is just NC Homebuyers at Google+. They can find me on my website at sellyourhouseraleigh.com. And they can also find me on Twitter at NC_Homebuyers. And that's pretty much where I hang out online.
Cool. All right, man. Well, I really appreciate it, Kevin.
Thank you. Thank you for sure. Thank you for having me on the podcast, Danny.
All right. Have a great day. Hey, thanks for listening to the show. I wanted to ask really quick, if you've got something that you're struggling with, something that you are finding it difficult to overcome to get started flipping houses, if so, you can visit facebook.com/flippingjunkie and leave me a message there at facebook.com/flippingjunkie. And that way I know what you're struggling with, and I want to tailor specific episodes to the things that you guys submit and want to hear specifically about. So please go to facebook.com/flippingjunkie and leave a message there with what's been holding you back and any questions that you have about flipping houses. And also be sure to stop by flippingjunkie.com/8. That's the number 8. flippingjunkie.com/8 to get the awesome infographic that Kevin has been kind enough to share with us. And also, I just wanted to say thank you very much for everybody. You've been great with the new release of the podcast. I was pretty nervous about releasing it, but everybody's been really enjoying it, and I really want to thank everybody who's left a rating and review of the show on iTunes. I very much appreciate that. It just takes just a second, and if you're not sure how to do that, you can go to flippingjunkie.com/rate, RATE, flippingjunkie.com/rate. And we'll see you next week.